add one thing, which is a liquor license for the quarry. It was the quarry, the liquor house.
What's that?
This was for
The board.
the quarry. So I'll just move that we add an agenda item to new business, which is to address the liquor license for the quarry. All in favor? 3-0.
Heather, I also had a possible addition in reading the previous minutes. I don't know if this is time to
Sure.
add that. We, previous meeting, we talked about the 96 Ten Hill property. And I don't know if any more information has come in that in our minutes from last meeting, so we would
Yeah.
talk about it.
Do we have a report to consider?
We do, but I don't believe that
We have.
right. So I don't think there's any further update on that. It's not on the list that was submitted today.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it the CEO list?
Yes. All right. Next up is to review and approve the unapproved minutes from the previous meeting. So we have approved those with amendments as written on the paper. And next up is public comment. Do we have the list?
A long list.
Thank you. All right, first up, Kim LeBlanc.
So this is anything that I want to discuss, it's open to whatever I want to discuss.
Well, the topic, you're supposed to write your topic on here, so what would you like to discuss?
I need to discuss speed bumps
Yep.
on the North Dover Road and the playground.
All right, start with speed bumps then.
Okay, for a couple of years, I've been trying to get something done to slow the traffic down on North Dover Road. I've had some suggestions, but nothing was, followed through with. I was told there was a company of some sort coming to assess or figure out a way to slow traffic down. I've never seen anybody there. Did that happen?
Yeah, so I can provide a bit more context here. So the group is a consultant that we have it's called Coral Palmer is the name of the consultant. They're doing an assessment of our downtown area. It's basically Main Street from the intersection of Landry Road through town to the Elliottsville Road, but also certain areas that are off Main Street. And so they conducted a site visit here a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
July 13th.
A month ago. Wow, time flies. Okay. And we did discuss exactly this section of road. So they have suggested some initial improvements for the area. They've now, after the feedback from the site visit, are going back to refine their ideas. And some of the things that we talked about were doing some temporary measures, like maybe it's a seasonal speed bump or some markings or something that we can do to try out some different measures. I'll say that it's very much on the group's mind and on our mind, and the time has come. You've been very patient. We've been chatting about this for quite some time. And now we're almost in the, I was hopeful this whole process would go a lot faster than it has gone, but it's where we are. And so as part of their feedback, we'll be reviewing and planning to implement some at least temporary measures that we can do to slow things down.
So
there.
this group is coming up with a permanent solution?
They're going to come up with a bunch of different ideas, and some of them will be things that we can do today that don't cost a lot of money, and other things will be, for example, one of the things that we're considering is redesigning the intersection with Main Street and North Guilford Road right here, because people just drive right through, right? And so what are some things we can do to the roads to slow traffic down? Some of those are big, expensive measures, and some of them are small things we can do today.
I mean, because a couple speed bumps, temporary, just until something is in place, and I really, you need to do something.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Have we
That's
asked,
where almost all of it was left.
we asked like the sheriff's office to put like one of those things that kind of point down. You know, because I've done it, I think here, you know, that would, something that would just grab the attention.
I can't remember, there have been a lot of different ideas.
We've had one of those before that tells you your speed when you're coming through and slow down and.
Well, some of the new ones have like the actual like blue light that will flash that will scare the eye.
With rainbows, when you're coming in rainbow, is that have blue lights on?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's
clear,
yeah,
white,
yeah,
white
yeah,
flashing.
but some, yeah, some will do that.
And just don't think that that's a law. Do get something done now until you come up with, because this is 2 years that I've been waiting.
Yeah. And it's too long. I'll be the first one to say that's way too long. And we can, now we had the site visit as well, and we have a better sense of like the timing of these types of measures. I think we can rally around the idea of doing something sooner rather than later.
Because the natural speed bump right in front of Joe Fisher's, you build it in.
Very true. Maybe that's an idea, we'll dig some holes in
I
there.
thought about it, and I said, no, I'll get in trouble.
Is DOT supposed to get back to us in timeline about, because they mentioned some temporary measures, like you said, and I can't remember if, because we talked about that road with them, that was a big concern, and I don't know what their timeline is.
Do you have any communication on that?
Let me follow up on that, because I think their sense was probably to wait till we get some of the conceptual stuff back from Gold Palmer, you know, and talk around that, but maybe there's a way to start doing it simultaneously.
Because summer is so busy, and there's traffic coming on North Guilford Road because of GPS is telling them to come
Yes.
that way.
Yep.
And it's, are you in the 25-mile area?
Yes.
Yeah,
I am.
yeah,
And I have 5 kids.
yeah,
They, and you're coming down the hill from the church,
I know.
if they, you know, then they just try to gain speed to come up and coming off Route 15, and they're not going 25. And then they seem like they punch it right off of North Guilford Road.
Those signs up by my house at 45 miles an hour, you might as well throw those in the woods. They don't even see them when they go by. See, it's too fast.
Stop signs will help too.
What's that?
Get rid of all the yield and put stop signs. Stop and fly.
Stop at the bottom of the hill.
Stop and fly a little bit.
Right in the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so, that's right.
Sometime, maybe some of that morning.
Yeah, we should do it in the winter. That's
That's
not bad.
Some yellow blinking light out.
No, but it, ours was starting to get back.
Tells on where we drive.
Traffic is so sad. Yeah.
Well,
It
They can't.
red one.
That yield right there, put stop
It's
signs.
gonna take 1 kid.
Yeah, that was the main point of discussion about making that a full stop. Yeah. Thank you, Kim. Heard loud and clear.
I'll open any other suggestions that anyone else has, like he said, the stop sign. I mean, if that's something that would work, it doesn't, just something now, until you guys come up with something.
Yeah, well, let's give it some thought, and we'll at least report back by the next meeting. Playground?
Yes, I had asked if we could put a fence up down there because of the brook, and I see that one was put up. Now, is that something that the town paid for? Like, kind of a playground budget, or is that where the money comes from, as a budget for the playground?
And public works, I think that fencing we might have had or came through public works, so, yeah, public works, working jointly with recreation committee recommendation.
Okay, it seems like this thing could still go right through that. It's like a snow fence, kind of. I mean, I'd like to recommend something better. And Robinson's is happy to do it.
I think that's I was gonna say it's a good point even before you said that last part. Over the last year or so, the Recreation Committee has reformulated and really come together to come up with a lot of good ideas for what to do around town. Bill can speak more to what the specifics are, but I guess my point here is keep the ideas coming, because now we have a group that is running with these types of initiatives that we haven't in the past. And so The direction to the rec committee earlier this spring was keep the ideas coming, and then we can figure out how best to fund those, whether it's through the recreation budget, whether it's through private donations, what have you. We just really need people to come forward with these types of ideas, and then we can figure out how to make it happen.
When I was on the rec committee a lot of years ago, we raised all our own money. We did fundraisers
Mhm.
and we raised all our money for uniforms and
Yeah, the group is back in action.
good.
So the committee has a modest budget to work with. And I think all of us agree that the more people that are participating there on healthy activities, the better that place is going to be run.
A lot of people go there.
Yeah, but the more of us that are down there using it,
Yep.
doing programs, part of Summerfest, was, Tom and Joanne did a pickleball demonstration down there in a pickleball court fits in perfectly in that skateboard area, so they taped it off and did pickleball down there. About 25 of us played, so that can be another activity that people will be down there, and it just keeps a lot of good positive.
I myself haven't been down there, but my grandkids go down there all the time with mom, and I guess there's beer cans and stuff down, I mean,
Well, we cleaned it up. A number of us have done multiple cleanings and just making sure there's nothing hazardous down there.
I didn't know if it was the rec responsible or if there was a playground.
Well, we did
Committee or-
it on cleanup day, so the beautification committee on cleanup day, that was an area I went to make sure,
Yeah.
put my double gloves on and went down and cleaned up. And so far it stayed relatively clean because I think a lot of people are using it in a positive way. And
But
so,
that fence, that scares me, because there'll be 7 in a couple weeks, and they don't pay attention when they're running away from each other, and they turn around and look behind to see where their brother is, and they can run right through that fence. There needs to be something there that's gonna stop anything from going through. That's really all I had.
Great, thank you. Gloria?
She pretty much said the same thing I was gonna say, that I think the fence needs to be more adequate. Not a safety thing. It's not only little children that go there that are supervised, older children go there, not supervised, and they're running, and it takes one to fall down into that brook. That's.
Yeah.
I think something more than a snow fence has to be put up.
Noted, thank you. Ryan, you're gonna, because you're on the agenda, yeah, same. Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. So public comment is closed. We'll move on to select board reports. Sue?
I was gonna ask, can we do the town manager reports first? Because, again, I suggested this last meeting, it might be redundant questions that Bill's gonna cover anyway.
Sure.
Okay.
Fine, yeah, all right.
let's see, no particular order. Roadside mowing will be completed next week. We're gonna be looking at, we've done all the gravel work on Elliottsville and Pleasant Street. We'll have that on the agenda tonight for moving from the reserve fund, the work previously authorized, but we are gonna need to pave that section out there and probably bid it out or scope out the bidding to see if it, what level it's gonna come in at, whether we can do good faith review. That work will need to come from the paving reserve account. So we'll need to bid it out to complete that work and then see what the mechanism is for the funding, whether we can move funds from the reserve up to the $10,000 limit per year was authorized at town meeting. So we'll probably bid that out fairly quickly, thinking being that would give us time before the special town meeting on September 14th, which is scheduled. But if there were spending items that needed to go to town meeting, that would be an opportunity to do that as well. So the paving work, the Elliottsville and repairs. Let's see, our AED is on the way to go up to the gymnasium. That AED was just with Maine State Housing grant funds. So that one's coming in. The one that we got here came from the county. They promised us the possibility of a second one, but that still hasn't come yet. So we can keep asking for what the next needed spot would be, but that AED is on the way, we'll get that mounted.
We should know more by September.
Yeah.
Speaking of the director of the EMA, those were put into a homeland security rig.
Yeah, so the AED for the gym, still need to mount the, fire extinguishers up at the gym, make sure that's all up to date, and in place. Elena and I are shipping off the tax map info to to Judy and GIS, to do those updates. Confirmed with, Carbon for the purchase of the EV chargers, same price they came in at, confirmed with Ulos for the electrical work. They are gonna be about $300 more than what the budget was, so we'll need to look at additional, coverage on that $300. And they're coordinating with Chris later, is doing the sub work on the site up there, or coordinating that. So Ulos and Chris are here, and Steve Anio with Public Works, and Libra for parking lot use and lines, and all will go up as a team to coordinate where.
Last meeting, you talked about the site might need to be looked at differently.
Well, I think looking at what's up there, but figuring out how we go, because the side toward the library on the bandstand becomes a snowmobile trail and a big pile of snow. But I would say there's the possibility that the basketball court would be a possibility. It would get out a snowplow, snowmobile trail option. But that siting to make sure we honor the agreements, the EDIT agreements that we have with Libra up there, and then coordinating the practicality of where we're plowing in what's a very tight space in the winter, to make sure that they're not getting plowed over. But where we position them out there could work. I contact and others are welcome to come, but kind of at the bandstand area, but around toward the basketball court, so it's somewhat protected. We need jersey barriers around them. They go in on a pad, 2-foot wide pad.
Any timeline?
Nope, schedule it as soon as possible. We do those in Chris later to get up here for the site work. So soon as possible on that. Light bulbs, Marty and I are sorting that out. Mostly Marty at this point. We came up with a procedural breakthrough today, realizing that one person is telling us it wouldn't honor, and it turned out to be the same company that originally supplied these.
Yeah, the
The
bulbs
street-
that
the
are out,
bulbs.
and
The
then
bulbs
the
are out. They should be-
posts that we've been trying to replace, getting nowhere. I just realized they're one and the same company, so I sent a message through a different route, hoping it gets somewhere a little higher up the ladder, and maybe, so hopefully I'll have a response by tomorrow.
Okay.
Let's see, on enforcement updates, I handed out the CEO enforcement sheet. You have additional information on some of the couple of the deeper issues if you want. But that gives a good summary. They good form on that. That's the code enforcement piece of enforcement. On our animal control officer piece, we've had a fair amount of activity lately with repeated times of a flock of sheep that are being kept just off of the Elliotsville Road. The first day I noticed them was the day we were repairing Elliotsville Road, when a couple of them bolted in front of me, and a couple of narrow misses from car guys in, and no other people out there seeing misses. So I personally have delivered warnings to the owners of those, and our animal control officer has followed up three times at this point as well. And recently, as yesterday, reported that they are fenced in. The problem was they weren't fenced and they weren't being fed. So they were going to find all the green grass and working their way down from front yard to front yard down the Elliotsville Road. They reported yesterday that they are fenced in and fed. see, the budget update that you've got has both the end of the year for when we closed out on June 30th. With the good news being that all departments came in at budget. You'll see a couple of places in there that show negatives, but we still have to move funds over from some account and other accounts. But all the departments end of the year, we were able to come in with everybody within budget, not requiring any special town meeting action on that. And then you've also got the year to date from July 1st to get both the expenses and revenues showing there. And Sue had already asked for that to add, and I want to do this, that runs it as a percentage as well. So you can see during the year what percent has been expended. Year to date on equipment under admin shows a real big expense, and that's because the server that was approved at town meeting to come out of administrative reserve account of 6,000 plus shows there, but the money hasn't been moved over from the reserve account yet. And then I thought the planning session on Tuesday was excellent. I enjoyed that. I thought it was a good goal setting session and ideas. And we had a couple members of the public that was here, Jonathan, and I found that to be really, really helpful to see where we are 6 months into my tenure here, being at the budget process, and especially forming the budget, taking the budget to town meeting, and now the really important step tonight of committing the taxes so we get the tax bills out. The most popular question being asked many times today are those tax bills. Getting those out. We're about 1 week off schedule from last year on that. But we're okay in the timing of what that will be. When we get to the tax commitment piece, I can give more to that, but we're ready to go on that with processing that and getting those out in the mail next week.
Cool, thanks, Will. How do you do, Sue?
Pretty good. I'm just like shortening my list. Thank you. Thanks for doing that.
Yep.
Okay, so I have 3 now. So just
Cool.
narrowed down. Is there a next step in the community resilience grant? Where do we go?
It'll be
Timeline.
we'll be looking to see when the announcement is for the next date. But I think conceptually, we should start thinking about that.
Right.
And potentially, we're gonna have a number of planning meetings on different things with the transportation, with other things that we're doing.
Right. Is this one we want to do with another municipality or another,
That's what we should, I think, start discussing.
because we get more money, right?
Yeah, you can get up to $125,000 if you have more than one community. And the communities, as I understand it, through the research I was doing, can include unorganized territories. Just need to go through the county to be a participant. But we clearly have some issues that we can work on jointly. I mean, emergency response and preparedness on June 20th, 30th, when we had the massive flooding, really displayed the challenges with poor communication, not having cell phones working, of having good friends in Willimantic who will go and drive the road for you, check out conditions, call back in. Was one of those coordinated efforts that really spoke to the regional emergency response piece.
So we're just waiting for them to let us know.
Close, but I guess what I'm thinking is, as we have different planning discussions and planning meetings around transportation or others, would be an opportunity to start generating topics and ideas to think about how we want to start having that public input piece.
Okay.
Because it takes a while to build. One thing is all that people to come out to public meetings and participate. There may be ways that if we're getting people out to other public events, it would be a good time to start a dialogue.
Sure.
And get some input.
Do we know yet what the deadline for the next round is?
It always depends on what's there for money, but
Okay.
anticipate late fall.
Okay. It's kind of tight.
Yeah, it's gonna happen pretty quickly. So probably 6 months the last one. So
Yeah. Just don't want to lose sight of that one.
No.
Okay. And then good segue, self-service was my phone kind of lights up. Just gonna keep bringing it up. I don't know what we can do or.
Absolutely. No, that's on my very short list of, things we have priorities. Still the public screening session that you had, or do we want to hear what the top items are? Cell phones,
Yeah.
right up there on that.
And for emergency
Cell phones,
services.
yeah. Cell phones, a good breakfast place, and what was the third? But they're still,
Yeah.
so they're still on point. And certainly the cell phone funding piece is something that I'm trying to strategically around as well to figure out where funding sources could possibly come from that act as the enticement, plus some encouragement from powerful elected folks who
I know.
help us insist on this piece. But it's really, it's an everyday thing for me, the challenge of not being able to communicate myself.
As well as fire department.
In the fire department.
Yeah,
We saw it on June 29th.
Yeah.
We couldn't talk to each other.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's
And it
an
goes beyond
emergency
that.
situation.
We've had, people here having emergencies with their family and not being able to call 911.
Right.
Even at Hebron Heights, they were not able to call 911.
It's a
Yeah.
public safety issue.
And so again, the county has a contract with T-Mobile for phones that are out there. I've been promised one, was promised one the day after, on June 30th. I haven't seen my test phone to have. The word from our fire department that has 5 or 6 of those is they're spotty. It may be that they're, like my US cell phone might have different spots. So I call them phone booths. In the world of Baxter Park, if you knew where your little phone booths were, that you could pair a signal. And I know where my phone booths are. Yeah, they're up at the gym. They're about halfway up Homer Hill. They're up on North Guilford, couple spots. It's really good signal all the way over down by Turning Page. So going out and seeing a Turning Page, the place where I can catch up on cell phone, cuts it off. But knowing where those phone booths are is not the way to conduct especially emergency, which is day-to-day business. And my sense is the fixes are probably coming down in terms of cost, and how we get that encouragement of a company that will come in, either insisted that somebody come in. This is very effective. So I guess I think of it as, yes, direct writing right now, I'm trying to figure out angles that I'm sort of looking at, trying to figure out what might be. I mean, our short priority list of grant opportunities, we're hearing more about tonight. Cell phones are definitely on that as well, communications.
Okay. And just, so we don't lose sight of this, for future scheduling, planning is the, just the ATV,
Yes,
issue.
and codifying the activities we already.
Yeah, and, formulating policy and the Bodfish Valley Club. That's all I
I'll
have.
put, for the next meeting, especially the letter we need that goes to the state. It's a piece about getting the part from downtown to the Ellettsville Road, which needs to be in place and never has as well. So there's 2 pieces, letter to the state and the Bodfish agreement.
But also we talked about having policy.
Yes.
Cool, thanks, you're good? Okay. The only one that I wanted to add for tonight was if we've had any luck with the licenses for Wi-Fi system.
No, that one I'm not getting responses on that. Still need Axiom to
It's Axiom that you're waiting for?
make contact again with Kim.
Okay.
Around which holes are going to technically work.
I might be able to stay.
We'll represent them.
There's plenty of it.
Receiving Monson Fire, you have listed 12 Greenville Road in Monson, again 12 Greenville Road in Monson, going to be the Monson General Store. Alarm company called in a fire alarm activation, 37 1842.
For 15 minutes.
We've got some time. All right, next up is town committee reports. Beautification,
Nothing new to report.
thank you for your report. Recreation,
Let's see, I can't remember if I gave, Summerfest went great. That's right. Summerfest was the 15th, last select board meeting was the 13th. So Summerfest went great. The ideas of including in Summerfest that came from the rec committee, which were pickleball and in part the library sponsoring the disc golf behind there. That was warmly received by rec committee members, where I got to see many of them participating in those events. So the rec committee members and their family, the kids' participation was real high in that. The beach we got repaired and fixed. The new float is down there. We still do have the outstanding piece of changing station. Would be great. And that would be me and or others who might have mentioned possibility of a shed, some structure we could take down there and then, then move somewhere else. And then put it on skids and come winter time, we can pull it out on the ice and have it be a snow roller place. So some sort of changing room is definitely needed. Rec committee, I think we'll start meeting in terms of doing the equipment sort and finishing the cleanup downstairs at the gym, figure out what we need to buy for additional equipment. I don't think it's gonna be a lot. I think we'll get some of the basics for that. But it was really good on Summerfest to see all of our municipal parks and rec areas being used. The boat ramp, with the boat race, with the kids and whatever floats piece, Cat Beach, the ball field, and disc golf going on around the ball field, pickleball down here. So all of our parks and rec facilities were in play that day. And it was great to see so many local folks engaging in those activities. I do think it's really helpful when we have a liaison from the select board on the different committees. And so I asked JD if he might consider being liaison to the rec committee. We discussed that. Well, the people he knows were using fishing poles. And, we discussed that out here and just thought of having more folks who are involved with kids in town that are helping us with those activities, both for the public school kids, the homeschool kids, and really having a robust variety that's year round. Those of us who are willing to volunteer and coach different sports to really build up on that.
and what did you say?
I do it for the money.
We all do,
Yeah, happy to do it.
Well, I guess
I made Dan fishing in town.
The crew that I saw from your house that was riding through town with fishing poles today would not be happy about that.
No, they would not, no.
They were past caught, they were.
I guess are you the beautification liaison?
I guess now, right?
So it would appear.
We could use more volunteers on that committee too.
Good, okay. Anything else? All right, cool. All right, the first order of old business is to consider certifying language for the September 14th, 2023 special town meeting warrant to be described as shall the town vote to approve an amendment to the town of Monson land use ordinance, section 5, rural residential district dimensional requirement.
So the language you're actually certifying is on the back of the agenda for the hearing. So the public hearing announcement on the back of that contains the markup as it was posted. And what you're doing now will be certifying what goes to be attached with the warned for the special town meeting and already authorized on September 14th. So this is the language. That you're considering the language, which you can modify now. Once you certify it, that's what gets posted with the town meeting warrant. That will be posted at least 7 days before.
And so this is fine for, this like handwritten thing, I think it's fine for our purposes here. Will the warrant itself, will it follow like the state formatting for amending?
Yes, it will,
legislation?
because this actually is our official version of land use ordinance, is the one that's online right now, on the town website. So this is the page.
What I mean is that, like when legislation is amended, they don't handwrite on it, they type in and they use straight through.
Well, we'll need to acquire, because right now, the website has a PDF version, so yes, I need to acquire
I have a Word
the
version.
Word version that matches up with what's online now to make sure that we don't have.
It's not that complicated, I'm just asking that we not
Absolutely.
use handwritten.
Okay. Although it legally,
We won't, promise.
we won't, I know this is laughed at, but this was the accurate to what we had available. So yes, we're trying to do a proper red line. With
Thank you. No additional commentary from me. All right, then I will move that. Actually, is there, I guess I'll just use language here. I'll move to language for the September 14, 2023 special town meeting warrant to be described as shall town vote to approve an amendment to the town of Monson land use ordinance, section 5, rural residential district dimensional requirement. Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor? 3-0. Next up is to consider fire department grant and planning opportunities. So Chief LaPlante provide us with the holy grail of Monson Fire and Rescue capital planning. So thank you so much for providing this. Obviously, we haven't had a lot of time to dig through it yet. Suggest that we set expectations and give us some time to digest. But for our purposes today, maybe you can just share with us what you would like.
Well, pretty much in a nutshell, it comes down to the last page of the packet. It's more of everything that is expired out and needs to be replaced. Going about it, you're gonna see that a lead engine is obviously our most crucial at this point. A lead engine can only be used up to 30 years old. We're expiring out. By the end of this year, we're gonna be expired out. So we can't use it as a frontline truck, and that goes as well with the tankers as well. Any other truck that's used as a second line truck can be 1950, it doesn't matter. It's just the frontline truck has to be under the 30-year marker. So that's where we fall there. Some of the other things, you'll see on the end page, a side-by-side rescue ATV and 2 snowmobiles. We don't have them. We deal with a lot of rescues. We deal with a lot of ATV accidents. We just had one just a couple weeks ago with everybody head-on collisions. You know, things like that. We have, again, if you ask the snowmobiles to drive down this main road, we're gonna get an accident. And we're also where we cover Shirley now, we cover a lot more trails and snowmobiles and ATVs as well. So these are pretty much things we need. Cardiac monitor is one of the biggest things. Close to 75% of our calls is medical. We have a cardiac monitor that's got a 10-year expiration. Our monitor is from 1998. It's a pretty big expense, but it's stuff we need. Turnout gear, we have turnout gear that's got their expiration date as well. And we have turnout gear from 2001, quite a few sets. So a lot of this stuff you're just seeing on the back is stuff that really, in order for us to do our job and keep ourselves safe at the same time.
And Ryan, some of that we talked about, we've added some recently with Stephen Tabitha King, but we're still short, particularly on turnout gear.
And if you look at the turnout
tank and air tanks, right?
Yeah, if you look on the turnout gear, you'll see that there's 7 new turnout gears since 2023. You know, thanks to the Stephen King Foundation, but you know, that's a good start. We still need 9 sets. you know?
Yeah, so.
Same with the portable radios, you know, we have a hard time with communication reaching through. But when you start using pagers and portable radios and mobile radios that are, you know, from the 90s and the early 2000s that are getting smoke damage, water damage, heat, cold, you know, getting dropped, this, that, I mean, it makes it even worse. Yeah, the air packs, going into a burning building, 10-year expiration, you're talking 1997 pack, 1998 packs. And they weren't even purchased from us, they were actually through the Franklin Fire Department donated to us back in that time.
That's some stale air.
Oof, yeah, so, you know, a lot of that stuff is just, you know, what needs to be replaced immediately. But the whole plan there is, once we can get everything up to a current point, we can start replacing everything in the cycle and never fall back in this situation again.
Exactly.
And, you know, Bill and I are working on this to be able to do other grants for other things. But some of the stuff's kind of, we need to do something about it now. And that's why we provided the truck right there. That is the engine truck right there. With all the specs on the truck, everything that was provided from Ferrara. That was the best deal we could find. And it's just under 700,000. Everybody else was 750 to almost $1 million. And even used trucks were same price what we can get this brand new. It's not the Cadillac, it's what we need to get us by. And there's a plan how to replace that in the future as well. All of it is, and never fall back into the same situation.
What's the lead time on that truck?
The lead time on that truck is gonna be 2 years to build it.
So our lead truck is expired.
We have one in, if, according to BLS, if we have one that's already negotiated and a contract signed on it, and it's being built, it will allow us that extra time to extend that while we're having the truck built. So.
And I don't know if you told you, but the financials are in there too for a lease purchase for 7-year, 10-year. And it's 7 years, one year after you receive the truck, or you can go up to 2 years.
To make
For the first payment.
You don't have to make a payment for 1 to 2 years after you receive the truck.
Yeah.
So it gives you a really good leeway of trying to figure out how to come up with funds and, or however you guys plan to do so.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you working so hard to pull this together, because this is the start of what we need to figure out. We're answering basic questions like this, not just for the fire department, for every department, is how much does it cost to run the town, right? And so I think to date, we have not invested enough in a lot of the things we needed to invest in. We have not saved up in reserve accounts to accurately reflect the needs of different departments. And this is the year that we fixed that. It was a big piece of the work session that we did earlier this week, is getting aligned on that type of perspective, which is very different than how the town has been run in the past. And so this allows us to kickstart that.
This isn't just so much for now, this is, you know, 10, 20, 30 years.
Exactly.
Just like to not fall back. And again, they're all just averages. I can't tell you what the price is gonna be in 10, 20 years from now.
Sure.
But these are based off today's prices right now.
Yeah. I think certainly this gives me a lot to go over. Others, I'm sure. What I would recommend is that we would ensure that the conversation continues at the next select board meeting, and in the meantime, allow us, if you will, to reach out with questions and so on, because I know that a lot will arise. Yeah.
I don't think anybody's seen.
Yeah.
Well, there are also some pieces, and I'm not sure if now or down lower on the grant. Now I think we would be better because we're having the dialogue, but there are some grant opportunities that can pop up pretty fast for me that I'd like to get authorization to possibly proceed on applying, things that we've been scoping out. Again, I want to run through those that have fire department implications.
We can, although any decisions we should take in that section.
Yeah.
Okay. Go for it.
Yeah. You want to lay it out now?
Yeah.
So
The fire department specific ones.
right, exactly. So there's a warehouse. I want to make sure we get authorization on tonight. So Weyerhaeuser has got the potential for a couple of different things. And Ryan had mentioned that they were looking at Weyerhaeuser, and I'd started doing some research around Weyerhaeuser, what the parameters are, the way they support communities that they're in. We actually found an old contract where the town leased from Weyerhaeuser at $100 a year. I think it might be a campsite down on the Barrows Falls Road. And then the town at one point voted not to continue that lease. So there's been a relationship in the past, but Weyerhaeuser is a big landowner in the region with big emergency response needs, potential for talking with them. They also have made available an ATV to the fire department. The part that needed, it was a one to seek authorization for accepting an ATV from Weyerhaeuser. The critical question I had to Ryan was when that came in, that wouldn't exclude us from potentially larger grant applications for their community programs, which could tie in with larger equipment or other programmatic pieces.
Sorry, so
Yeah,
just to be clear, so the ATV is specific, but the larger partnership that you're talking about, is this a formal program that they have?
They do have a formal program for any communities in which they conduct business. And we meet all the qualifications of that. There's also a parameter that you can't apply for something that public dollars should be buying anyways. But I think there are potentially ways with some of our foundations and landowners in the area that, particularly if we're approaching something in a regional response with our partner communities, unorganized territories and towns, there's something that we could present in a way where it's not something that would fall under that. Well, you should just pay for it through your tax dollars. There might be a way to look at some of those regions. So they are one of the, we got a number of large landowners / foundations who are partners with us that I think could form a really interesting collaborative. So Weyerhaeuser, somebody that tonight would like specific authorization for, because donations require select board authorization for the town meeting or to accept an ATV from Weyerhaeuser as a fire department, straight up donation. The piece of equipment's worth about $4,000. Is what Blue Book value is on that. And then also authorization to proceed with looking at applying for a grant. There'll probably be an opportunity to come back to you and present a more fleshed out version of that. But sometimes opportunities can pop up quickly. So those are two that we're seeking authorization. Nestle and Poland Spring have a couple of giftings that they have. One we decided to get bottled water and things like that. They also have a more substantive community program piece as well. So again, looking at Blue Triton is one of their entities, and then Nestle Poland Spring. So getting authorization on those two. We had a potential fire department assistance, and the big one, the one that I've been eyeing, I've asked and applied for and eyeing since I got here, is the big one is the FEMA assistance to firefighter grants. Comes through FEMA. It can be big money. The date's not posted on that yet, but grant writing advisors are kind of groups who subscribe to that are predicting it's probably going to be the same timeline as last year, deadline of October 10th. So when it becomes available, pops up pretty fast. So I've already started and asked Ryan to start the background work that we need to have all the documentation. It's pretty significant that you need, but to be ready to go with a potentially large ask. And to put it in perspective, the cycle last year, Southern Heuristic Regional EMS received a $404,000 grant for vehicle purchase. Again, a regional service. I don't know the specifics of which equipment, but that idea of a coordinated regional fire and EMS, I think it's hugely attractive. Both for potentially lead engine, other engines, another engine, a cardiac monitor. I just think the health piece and the medical piece is going to be an expanding field. So those are areas that getting that authorization tonight would allow me to start an application and probably able to come back and say, here's a completed application, and if you'd like to add to it, but to make sure we're ready to go and get one in the deadline. That's my fire department, this stuff. Also grant switches.
Yeah, those were the grants. Pretty much the ATV. That's the biggest thing.
Great.
And we can get that authorized and put us in service today.
Do we have room downstairs for that?
We have a trailer for it.
Excellent.
We had the trailer.
Great. Okay, thanks. Okay, yeah, we'll be reaching out. And we'll pick this up in 30 days. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Sorry you didn't get to be here. What happened?
Cooking food.
Burning food, bring any food back?
No, I didn't.
Oh, sorry.
Gotta do a little more education up there too. Those alarms go off, they don't leave, they just stay in the store.
Well, they got their orders.
They'll pay something for 2.5 goes in there, they'll come out one way.
I think they planned it.
Yeah. I think we planned it, actually.
Do we need to make do action on that?
No, in the section.
And then the.
So it is on
okay.
the last new business.
Right, okay,
Just don't let us forget to come back. here.
gotcha.
And you added the liquor license, but we didn't place that. Do you know where?
New business.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, the next item is to consider advancing the comprehensive plan.
All right.
The ball's in your court, Mr. Town Manager.
Great. I think as we talked about at the planning session we had on Tuesday, and Jonathan was here for that. And something I've followed along, which is your comprehensive plan is your guiding document. It provides guidance. The laws of the town and the ordinances, and that's really where the meat is in that. But it's also important to get this thing moved along, so we can check off that box whenever we apply for grants and have that in the process. And being in process is better than not being in process, especially when you're way out of date on what should be a 10-year renewal. This draft comp plan talks about a 5-year update, so we're only 2 years away from needing the update on the 5-year plan. Monson said that. Back to the Soviet Union, but yeah, 5-year plan that'll need to be updated quickly, but trying to move that out and as quickly as possible. As I said, it's a record, it shows different things, and yes, add this or no, not add this, but I think the sentiment, is my recommendation is move it along, get it into the state. I got the state planning office director's name and number. Call it, see what needs to be added back. The appendices, which still not clear to me whether we have.
Did you get the email that I sent to them?
Yeah.
Yes, got that, but whether there may be a document somewhere that's got those appendices in it, I just haven't found.
My discussion with you last evening, my understanding is that the document that was handed to the town.
A physical one or email?
Apparently it was a physical document, had the maps in it. They were from Dean Bennett. They were included in the official copy of it. I don't know.
This helps in the treasure hunt,
For me, I don't know if it got thrown in a box when Daniel left, potentially.
Would Dean Bennett have a copy of what he
It's
provided?
possible. I did also get an email. I saw the email when he sent in January where, some of the outdated information wasn't outdated when it was written, and it can be amended after the fact, but to get it back on schedule.
That's the first I heard there was actually a physical document with appendices, so that
That's
will add
my
that to our treasure hunt.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was good. Somebody will get to this light.
All right. We'll see if I find the 25-year buried time capsule for seeing the
Yeah.
appendice version.
Because it largely amounts to maps that, they can be
Yeah, they
gotten
got,
from the state again.
again, but they're the pretty colored.
Right,
edition maps. There's.
And so they had
Yeah, okay.
the one official copy. It's with the time capsule.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we did put it in the time. All right.
So at least we know what we're looking for now.
Now,
So we're gonna look for it, provided we find it, we're gonna send it to the state, so we're agreed upon.
and if we're sensing we can't find it, reassemble the appendices that we need in there for the maps to get it off to the state. To bless it or bounce it back and then get to work on it again, but.
Yeah, we'll give it a look, but at the same time, reach out to Dean Bennett, see if he is, I mean,
Yeah, I've had
I
a message,
and then, yeah.
Dean, I think he wanted to be done with it as well, 3 years ago. Yes.
Great. All right, next up is to consider a review and updates for the rules of order for Monson Select Board meetings. So these are the same rules that we passed last year, correct?
This is a copy, right, of what has been sitting out on the counter here and available. You passed last year. Do you want to take them and
This
digest
was
them?
actually 2021.
Yeah, because we passed the same ones the second. in
We never
2022.
changed the date, apparently.
Well, this is just the old copy, but the
Oh, okay.
language should be the same as,
I don't think we changed anything, but
that's what I'm saying. So even though this date is 21,
Right,
the
right.
language itself should be the same. But yeah, we'll
Yeah.
give you some time here and come back.
Yeah, is this just like an annual thing? we have to do?
Yeah.
Okay, and,
We don't, it's a voluntary thing that we do.
okay. Is there anything that we should focus on, or is it everyone generally happy with it?
I see in 1A, we only meet the second.
Yeah, so let's take the
Okay.
next
Yeah,
time to
okay.
figure out what we need to change. We can come back to it. Does that work?
Do we have the remote participation policy somewhere?
Yeah, I distributed that when two of the three of you were remote. I distributed that, I get it back out again.
That'd be something nice to put in our manual.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and in working that with the town attorney that, for like tonight's public hearing, for instance, town meetings, you can't do remotely. Select board meetings, you may. Public hearings can be a little more problematic, because if you present a remote option, you must assure that everybody participating has the option to speak it or not speak it. So it can be problematic if you present it and can't do it. So the town attorney agreed that tonight not doing it remotely was fine. You can do a public hearing remotely, but we may want to update the remote. Okay, this is well, thanks.
So is you're thinking that we'll take this, review it individually and then come back next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, the next up is new business. The first item is to consider setting the tax commitment.
So you have a packet that has 3 options in it. This is actually part of the entire budgeting process that has very little wiggle room in it. And setting the commitment is a 2-part process of setting your budget and then knowing what your town valuation is. And with the way it's worked the last 2 years, was giving contractually the option to the assessors to not have the field work done until the date you published at town meeting for that commitment date, which was published this August 1st. That makes it really hard to get the commitment in place. So I've already talked with the assessor about doing that field work in April and May, because it's based on valuations as of April 1st. And then having that field work done so that we could do the commitment in June. So that field work this year that came back to us yielded only a $600,000 net gain in valuation in the town. That included losing $150,000 of value from buildings that torn down, taken off, with a net gain of about $600,000. It included 5 properties that qualified as single-family resident, but 2 of those were houses and 3 were more camps. So we really only had 2 houses that came online in the last tax year. So the valuation, and there were about 50 permits total that were captured in that valuation. So the valuation came up a little bit, not as much as I hoped for. And so $1 million of valuation at our current rate yields about 17,000 of tax. That's the way that works out. So you had your budget that was passed.
I'm sorry, say that
Oh, sorry. So currently, it'll change a little bit after this, but we're about $80 million of valuation. So if you take the 1.3, well, if you have the school budget in there as well, take the 1.9 million and you come up with every $1 million of valuation will yields about 17,000 of tax.
Got it.
It's a little different from what a mill is worth, you know, by the time you divide out the budget. I wouldn't get too hung up on that.
Sure.
It's to say you have $1 million in new value without, you could have it 17, 18,000 new tax money coming in that would keep the mill rate flat, in the spending. So total valuation base, you'll see is $82 million. County tax, these are the non-negotiable lines. County tax, $154,350. That was an increase of 24%, $30,000. Municipal appropriation of $1,218,104. It was about $1,178,000 last year, so it was about a $40,000 increase on the municipal appropriation side, or about 2-3% increase. And the education appropriation was $583,709 from a base last year of $499. So it was a $84,000 or 17% increase. Those were the efforts that we did to reduce the municipal appropriation with rollbacks on reserve account contributions of about 60,000, 65,000, and rolling back some of the public works expenditures where we purchased before the end of the year, picking up another 37,000 or so. So we were able to reduce about a little over $100,000. So reducing the impact, no rate impact by about 1.4% by doing that. So you take out the allowable deductions, you take out the other revenue lines that you have, you come up with your net that needs to be raised through property tax, which was $1,487,845. And then you run that against the valuation. And the one thing you need to do is have enough overlay that allows for abatements or other cost overruns. And that's where these three options give you that option of how tight you want to have on overlay. So staff recommendation is going to a mill rate of 18.5. Your current mill rate is 16.95. So there'll be an increase of 1.55, about 7% increase. And the overlay of 32,000 is slightly more than we used in overlay in the last year. The second option would be bringing the mill rate to 18.45, so just a 1.5 increase. That brings the overlay under $30,000, which would be a little tight on where we ended up this year on overlay. And to give you, I know it doesn't sound like I'm giving you an option. The other option is to go with a higher mill rate. I gave you an indication here that an 18.7 mill rate would yield an overlay of 49,291. If you don't use that overlay, it's in surplus. It comes back in the next year. It's just a matter of whether you get it out from.
And so you mentioned that the overlay, so I guess two questions. One is, what overlay did we set last year and what did we actually use?
We set around 28 and used just about that, 20, 28. It was just under 30. So we got a little nervous when we started pushing it down into the mid to low 20s.
And if you overspend on that, you have to go to town meeting for approval?
Questions? When's the last time we had to do that? You know?
Do what? Overspend on overlay?
Yeah.
It was before my tenure.
Yeah.
Well, we did it for the fire department last year. It wasn't overlay, but it was
Right.
departmental.
So that was the piece when I said that every department, so it's not just bottom line on the budget, but every department has to stay within budget.
Right.
Or you had a special meeting for fire department last year.
But we don't know when the last time for.
I don't think I can remember it happening in my time, which is 6 years.
How close did we get this year? Of the 28?
We're right about on budget in the high 20s.
Because I know in the discussion last year, we didn't want a huge overlay and collect too much tax and trying to keep the tax, down as much as possible. I have a question too. I know the homestead reimbursement is on here. Is there consideration, because this is the first year, I believe, for the, what do we call it, the senior citizen?
Stabilization.
Yeah, how
And
does
that
that?
program ends so it's in effect now, but
Right.
it disappears at the end of the year. That's
Right, but will that affect this current?
Because the new one increases the homestead exemption, right?
Well, maybe, I'm not sure if that's funded. Yeah, or increases the eligibility. Well, what I've got so far for information that we look at advises people to go to basically low income assistance programs, but I'm not sure if the connection back to increasing the base homestead.
Well, the reason I ask is because when we signed up for it and we got a notification that, our tax coming this year would not be raised from last year. So I'm wondering if other people in town signed up for it, how does it affect what we're collecting? Does that make sense? Am I on the right track?
It does, and we'll collect it this time, so whatever was budgeted, or was that money in there as revenue in the budget?
The homestead,
Not the homestead, the stabilization, or was that not figured out yet by then? There was a lot of things that hadn't been figured out for a long time, so it may not be in here, but, it will happen this year.
Yeah.
So, and homestead exemption is just homestead exemption, it's not going anywhere.
Right. I don't know if I'm thinking straight on this.
so our assessment and so their recommendation, because for example, Trio was doing a homestead exemption program at 73%. So our Trio accounting system wasn't accurate, so we had to run reimbursement rate 0.76. So we ran that through this piece, the update. So our assessor was really on top of precisely what those reimbursements are and what the
So, okay, so I just had the light bulb on. So the state is supposed for the senior citizen stabilization. The state was supposed to reimburse the municipalities for the difference.
Right.
And that's what I see the homestead reimbursement, but
I don't think it's the same thing, and, I'm not certain, we did, that wasn't included in the revenues, right, in the budget?
Yeah.
But it probably wasn't
including
decreased,
the
exactly, so it's gonna probably come out in the wash, I would say, because no revenue or expense was accounted for.
Right.
So, and so much was still trying to be figured out right up until
I know.
now.
Okay,
I think we're talking about the same thing, we're using different examples.
Yeah.
But if, I guess what I'm getting at is, how much uncertainty are we expecting compared with last year, right, at the end of the day?
For overlay?
Well, in like the things that contribute to the use of overlay. And so just to pick an example, homestead reimbursement, is that at 100% or is less than 100%?
76.
Sorry, okay, so that's
76%. So that's line 4B.
right.
4B.
So if the homestead reimbursement goes up, that means that we'll collect less revenue because we only get 76 cents in the dollar.
If the reimbursement rate goes up, we get more.
You'll get more dollars, but you're giving up more than $1 of tax revenue. Anyway, short circuit, I think we should go with 18.5 because that gives us a little bit more buffer.
I was thinking.
We don't want to be the first team in more than 6 years to have to go back because we did the math wrong.
Yeah.
Well, it would be, so I'm just trying to talk about that message. If we do go overlay and we have to do a special meeting, I mean, probably not gonna be that big of a number if we're close, right? It would be pretty short number. And the fact that we're talking about it here, we advocate for, say, just hypothetically, we advocate for the B. And then we go to town meeting, it's like, well, we thought we could keep it under, and we advocated for a lower mill rate,
Right.
and now we're in this position and we have to get $3,000. I mean, is that a difficult thing for us as a select board?
It's,
That's my only thing.
Sure.
It's not,
On the sticker price,
Yeah.
18.45 looks very different from 18.5.
Yeah.
And the 1.5 increase looks different than 1.55. And actually.
either way, I mean, what's, it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be around 7%.
No, going into the town budget, I was asked by folks, what's gonna be the impact? I said, well, if we don't get much for valuation, what we've done is probably gonna be about a 1.4 million increase. So kind of came out of that ballpark that anticipating, just knowing that something more like 3 wasn't gonna be.
Do we have an average increase? I know it's 7%, but like dollar amount for the average Monson citizen is gonna go up, $50.
Estimated 30. So that'd be a $1.5 million increase would be $15 additional on each 1,000.
Yeah, so it's $100,000 would be like $150.
$150 on 100,000 pounds.
versus 1450, right? Right.
Okay.
We had a similar discussion last year and we wanted to keep it, we didn't want to go to 7, we didn't want it to have a 7 and then we wanted it to have 6. But we kept it under.
What was the increase last year?
I think it went up a little bit. What was it the year before?
I think it went from 16.5 or 6 to 16.95, so it's very small.
And we had a couple years of downward trajectory before that.
Right, but the valuations were up, so it didn't really work out very well.
And you did some movement from surplus to offset what would have been last year, what would have been, we couldn't dig as deep into surplus because we need to stay at a level that keeps us open for business for a couple of months if something happens.
So what's your recommendation in terms of based on this year and possible trends for overlay use?
Again, your staff were a little nervous at it going under 30, but certainly, as you explained here, there are adjustments if something needs to be.
And also that way there, so much has been taken from surplus lately that the mindset is kind of maybe think about going in the direction of putting some back, even if it's just a little bit. And at least not leaving ourselves in a position where we have to take them, like under any circumstances.
I think that the main, it's a position lately held, whether we do 4 or 5 or 18.5. My main question is just about what level of uncertainty we're expecting, because that's kind of what drives how much of this we're going to use, right? How many abatements we give, how many, how the
Exactly.
collections are going to
I'll
come.
grab the budget and see where the actual overlay was for this year.
It's been my understanding that the overlay covers the discounts, that we look at, and abatements. I'm not really sure if there's anything else, but, the discounts, that's kind of easy to figure out. It's probably, I mean, I don't have actual numbers to work with, but, just from what I see as far as flow of people coming in within the discount period, it remains pretty steady, I think. I mean, there's the same people usually that always do that, and then there's the people that don't. And it's been, I feel pretty steady. So shouldn't be much fluctuation there. Abatements, you know, sometimes it's due to errors that were made, during assessments.
Well, we had on that, so we had a lot of, when we switched assessors, I'm just speaking anecdotally, but did we have more abatements than normal due to the new assessor, like finding errors or?
Well, when we had the previous assessor, that was before I was very actively involved in anything other than strictly clerk stuff. So I didn't, and they also didn't work here in the office. You know, pretty much all of that just went through Daniel. So I couldn't really tell you that.
So 2022, you had a budget of 38,551 for your overlay, and your actual in 2022 is 24,680. And this year, the 2023 and the year to date was 26,618.
So still went up to
Trend went up 2,000, and that's kind of why we were 26. The 28 seemed to be the direction it could go. That's only 32, but it's in the ballpark. Pretty small. Then yeah, that, you know, the round number of a 1.5 increase to 18.45 and overlay of 28,741 seems to be in the ballpark. And whatever happens tonight, we can act on the vote, but you'll need to sign them. We'll have that income. We'll need to put the numbers in, but we can come in and sign as soon as possible.
One thing I was thinking about that I hope you can clarify is like, so last year we passed the budget, we set the mill rate, and then we had a special town meeting to approve supplemental funding for the snowplow contract. So last year, the year before.
55,000. Yes.
Last year, yeah.
Last year.
And, but we didn't adjust the tax rate.
No, because you did the surplus.
We just paid it from surplus.
Yeah,
Got
you
it.
pulled 55,000 from surplus to cover the difference.
Yeah, all right. I mean, ultimately though, this is such a small difference.
But that 55,000 you pulled, after the fact, would have increased by almost 1 mil your rate last year.
Say that again?
Your effective mill rate last year, where you pulled 55,000 from surplus to fill that budget gap, would have given you a 3/4 mil increase. So your mill rate this year would have been, instead of 16.9, 17.65. So we're going from 17.65
If we consider that.
effective
Right.
budget changes that we had
Right.
because of that surplus step. Yeah.
Got it. I don't have a strong opinion.
Besides, it's always too high.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We need to be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, can you go over again, I know just in my mind, what that would mean in tax increase per
So,
thousand?
yeah, it'd be an increase, a 1.5 mil increase would be $15 on 1,000 valuation.
And that, I'm sorry, that was 1.5. That was B, that was page 2.
just always have to double check myself and start doing slower because the percentage is 0.01. Just make it true.
Maybe you are,
The adult fifty.
because if it's
Yeah, because it's 18, so the
16.95,
so the total would be $18 on 1,000 evaluation. So it's
correct, so it'd be
$1.50
$1.50 per thousand.
per 1,000 evaluation.
So
$15.
on $100,000 house, it would be only
This could be $18 on
Yeah.
1,000, so a $100,000 house would have $1,800 of tax.
as opposed to 1,695.
So it'd be 100.
Right.
Yep, it is like straightforward math, but very confusing.
Yeah, I know, I
Especially
really.
this hour of
Yeah,
the day.
All right, so what do you recommend here?
Oh, thanks. I'm concerned that we've been taking out of surplus, like you said, and, things have been happening, just emergency situations that unplanned for. I'm almost tending to go with the 18.5. And I'm open-minded about that.
So that would be a difference of what, $5 between, on somebody's bill, and would put, potentially such a bit more into the surplus.
It's a $4,000 difference.
But they were right at, what was it last year?
26?
It's 26,618 and up from 24,680 the year before.
And what was budgeted last year, 28?
Well, it's not really budgeted because you don't know what it is till after it happens.
All right.
So the year before, it was,
What was the overlay set for last year? What do we set it for?
Maybe, I could try real quick to find it real quickly in the minutes.
Well, we netted 600,000 in valuation, right?
this year.
So take our valuation, subtract 600,000.
You take the excitement.
None of us blame you.
Aaron's a trooper.
Oh, wait, that's not gonna get us where we need to go anyway.
It might be a matter of a really quick search.
It's the records.
Overlay goes into the warrant.
Anyway.
It would be in the minutes of this meeting last year.
Recommending
Okay,
Yeah.
is 1850?
18.5.
You did?
1850.
2022, same form here.
Yeah.
Which one did we go with? I didn't write, did I write it? 1695? Yeah. It was a 35,651 overlay.
Gotcha, okay. Sue said she's almost leaning toward 18.5. JD said he likes 18.5, and the first thing out of my mouth was 18.5.
We circled back
All right.
around.
I'll move that we choose the staff recommendation of an overlay in the amount of $32,851.13.
32,851 what?
13? setting the mill rate at 18.5.
I'll second.
All in favor? 3-0.
Thank you.
We didn't ask for discussion.
I know.
No discussion,
I
it's
felt
late.
like trying to move along here. All right, the next item on the agenda is to consider an expenditure of $10,000 from the road improvement reserve for the Elliottsville Road and Pleasant Street previously authorized.
Put it on the table.
So we've already authorized it. This is just moving it
So you
to
authorize the expenditure for us to hire the work, right, in good faith effort. And that combined with probably $2,000 from our operating budget covers the work that we did. So the 10,000 from the road improvement reserve, and plus I think it's about 2,000 of the $6,000 road improvement and repair line that we had, will cover those expenses for Elliottsville and Pleasant for all the gravel work.
Okay.
Doesn't cover the paving.
So if I understand correctly, what we're really doing is is voting on a withdrawal of $10,000 from the reserve account, and the actual expense approvals will come through the warrants.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is following what was approved at town meeting to allow you to take up to 10,000 from each of the reserve accounts by select board authorizing it. Because the money's already been appropriated by town meeting. If it's more than 10,000, then we need to go back to town meeting. Which additional road work, as we scope out, might be, or paving might be. But this covers us on what we've done so far, and would be a transfer to cover it.
That's been already.
Yes.
Do you,
I was gonna follow we're easing into the structure here of motion, second discussion to make up for what just happened in the last.
Yeah.
So-
I'm sorry, yeah, I violated that already, okay.
So I move that we approve an expenditure of $10,000 from the road improvement reserve for Elliottsville Road and Pleasant Street repairs previously authorized. Is there a second? JD seconds. All right, you were saying, Sue?
Well, this was just somewhat related, but the paving, we have enough in the budget for the paving?
It'll need to come from the paving reserve, which has about 77,000 in it. We had looked at the possibility, and scoped out prior to Elliottsville damage. We had looked at the possibility of paving the hill on Pleasant Street, where we have repeat problems on that steep hill. And troubles in, especially in mud season, there's frost coming out of there, so safe passage down that hill. And so we started scoping out paving just the hill, which would be about 400 meters or so, I think 300 or 400 meters to pave that hill portion. And Steve and Marty and I had scoped out doing that within the paving budget that we had currently. But the Elliottsville paving will need to scope out, figure out bidding, they do a good faith, inquire who's available, required, but then bid that out for that work if we need to go for, above that threshold and the good faith requirement. If that one's 10,000 or less, you'd be able to do the same transfer from the reserve account. If paving turns out to be more than 10,000, we decide to do repair in Pleasant Street at the same time to try to get cost effectiveness. That definitely would be over the 10,000 would require town meeting authorization.
Okay. Good. Yeah. All right, all in favor? 3-0. Next up, consider authorizing auction sales for the Old Town Beach Float and the Old Town Truck.
Yes, so lots of inquiries for both items. The Old Town Beach Float is out at Town Beach. It's wasn't usable for us because it was damaged on the top, so you couldn't fix the ladder. Be perfectly usable for a number of people who've all asked if they could buy it and acquire it, to drill and use it that way. I I think it's better to sell a float during the season than not during the swimming season. So it's going to, for both of these items, if authorized, to put the town float where it's in location, put a sign on it, post the auction online here as well, and say bids in by August, pick a date. And we can choose to do a reserve if we wanted to. Not, you can reject, if it didn't hit, whatever. But my sense is, put it out, there's gonna be interest in getting it and us getting rid of it during swimming season. And then same concept with the town truck, because they can park it out at the transfer station, put a sign on it that says, as is, nothing promised, bids taken until. I've said, Marty said it's not gonna run. I've had a lot of Fords over the years, but if there was a time or two, it could actually be started to show that it still
Time or
could
two,
run.
and it was a long
Then
time
it could be a
ago.
scheduled time, and if we figured we could start it, to say at, 2 p.m. or 10 a.m. on Saturday X date, we're gonna start it up, anybody who wants to be there, inspect this. Would be an option, but do it out there, do the same thing for bid, is what I thought would get probably the most interest locally.
Brian?
You're gonna have it praised before you just throw it out there?
Yeah, we can do that, to have a
You should
set,
have somebody that knows what they're talking about.
yes, yeah, and to essentially treat it as.
Last time they sold the sand that went with it, which was a perfectly good, and they sold it for a third what it was worth.
Yeah, off the grid, right. You sell the equipment off the big dump truck.
Yeah, sand.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have that as an
Same
option.
steel.
Yeah, no, when I heard that, they used to have sanding and plow equipment for that.
Huh?
The dump truck that's out back, you used to have plow and sand equipment for
No
that.
plow.
Was that?
No plow.
No plow, just sanding?
Just saying.
Yeah, that'd be nice to have that as an option. And yeah, I heard it was given away.
It's only got 10,000 miles.
No, it's a great piece of equipment with a plow on it, and the sander gives you a lot more
What's
options.
wrong?
No, same thing, I look at that, but yes, have it appraised, in effect, have what's a reserve. Yeah. That if we, treat it as we've got a reserve, if we don't have the bids that come into that, and we think we got another way to have a sense of what our reserve bid is, and go with that. That one is urgent on, we can do that this fall, something, but that town float, I wanted to try to sell during swim season.
So in that case, I'll move that we authorize auction for the Old Town Beach float and the Old Town truck. Judy, second? Discussion? So are you imagining posting these and then we'll open bid the next meeting, or?
Yeah, next meeting, or even, I guess I'm not sure if I was supposed to say this after, depending what happens with our needs for funding that could be approved at special town meeting on the 14th. That if there was a need for additional spending items to be put there, that if you had a meeting on August 31st, that's 3 weeks from now, and it's 2 weeks before that special town meeting. You could have a meeting then, it was your second regular meeting of the month. You could do a meeting there. And if that occurred, that would be a great time to open bid. So what I envision is posting something for the float that's bid by the end of August, so that we're ready to go and sell during August.
Got it, okay.
So that's August 31st? You said? But
Yeah,
Is that
we
what
do
you
the day
mean?
before. Yeah,
And the money received would go to,
back to the rec, I believe that's what we can do. So the sale of the property and the truck go back in public work.
All right, no questions from me? All in favor? 3-0.
We'll do our regular posting, which primarily is Facebook, town website, and then a big sign on that.
Great. Consider a welcome to Monson letter of support as a general invitation to veteran Jeff Lewis to develop a business in Monson as he develops a business plan and funding.
Right. Sorry for that. That's not, well, it actually structurally is okay. It doesn't sound that creepy, but what it's doing is, Jeff Lewis is a veteran who came here to town, right, and had a chance to meet. And he's putting together a business plan, working with an advisor with Penquist and then the VA, to put together a business plan and seek VA to buy business. It's the business across the street from Shaw's. Right.
There's a basketball they indoor, is that the same spot across from Shaw's?
Next to Wentworth's.
Next to Wentworth, this side of Wentworth, across. And he's looking to buy that, operate it as, I guess, as a hostel, potentially year-round. He's actually spoken with some of the folks over there, Shaw's, who encouraged him. I don't know if he's formalized that or not, but I said that would be quite impressive as well. The idea that there's need for capacity, and Jeff seems to really have his act together. But then he was here with one of his kids when he was looking around, so I already asked the question of, would you consider moving here and being here? And he said, probably move to the area. He's about an hour south of here. But looking to develop that business, and this would be a general letter that doesn't promise permitting or promise anything that needs to be done. He's aware of some of the issues over there, potentially utility capacity upgrades and all, and I think we'll seek out what that information is, and if there are fixes he needs to do or upgrades, he can build that into his business plan potentially and his funding. That could address some of the issues, with that property.
Yeah, so is there a letter for us to?
No,
Okay.
don't have a letter form yet. Want to find out in concept if you're good with that. I've already spoken with the town attorney, who's fine with doing this. So something that just says, yeah, come to town, we'll get you connected with the tax assessor, with the codes officer, whatever you need to, but doesn't promise permanent or promise anything. It just says, yeah, come to town, we'll work with you to develop that plan.
So this is a Penquist cap through, the Veterans Administration,
So he's got a
requirement?
Penquist advisor, but then we go through the VA.
but it's a requirement for the VA funding.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, do they have specific,
No, they didn't. I asked if he could send me specific language. They
right?
just said it'll really help if you get the town saying, yeah, come to town, we'd like to do business with you.
Okay.
And just having a general letter welcoming the town. Again, promising the permitting is done.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I think for our purposes tonight, if you can draft that, then we could consider that. Okay.
Yeah, actually, have we ever done this in the past?
No, we have talked more broadly through the Monson Collaborative about having like a welcome packet.
But yeah, so I think Monson Collaborative would be a better.
Well, the town, I think for his funding, but yes,
Kind of needs the blessing, no, just something that, yes, the town of Monson would welcome,
but absolutely, sort of as taking this as a basis to say, yeah, come, we'd like it with you, we'll, get you access to all the, folks to answer those questions.
Because I'd like to keep it as general as possible, because you don't want to start picking winners and losers.
Nope.
And,
Nope.
because I didn't know exactly what he wanted to put in there. It's definitely hostile and for a boarding institution.
Yeah, and he would look to do it year round, I think is what it is, and then Shaw's decision.
Yeah, I mean, like, we should not be commenting at all on the business itself or the character or any of
But
this
Jeff,
stuff.
that's the concept of recruiting businesses to town.
Yeah, so
Say,
it's
come.
very blanket, so I wouldn't say anything about what specific business is doing it either.
Yep.
Just say.
Yeah, it's just a general business friendly, come to town, we'll make sure you get the information you need and get.
Maybe can we even say in the letter as, to support your pursuit of VA funding, or as their VA is requesting, we are supplying this.
Maybe we just use this opportunity to develop a template letter of support.
Yeah.
Could be there may be other businesses that have an introductory, want to start their planning rolling piece.
Okay, good. So we'll park this for now. The next item on the agenda is to authorize possible applications for various grants. So we spoke to some of those earlier. There were others on the list?
No,
Okay.
so the Blue Triton, Nestle, Poland Spring piece.
All dedicated to emergency services.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, yes.
So are we authorizing, I guess, what's the application? Typically, there would be a specific thing that we're applying for.
So this includes the authority to apply for such grants, funds, or donations for an application as you take any other action thereon.
Right. So it's also came up in discussion at the town meeting itself. I think I would certainly be comfortable if we're saying, if you said, hey, these are the 3 specific grant applications for these purposes that are under consideration.
Yeah. Okay, and you're ready to have, I mean, things can happen fast, so you might be needed to have a special.
That's fine, because what we can't do is we can't authorize just a blanket pursuit of things and then we get it. And then there's an obligation there that we didn't know at the beginning or find details. And.
But you don't have to accept, right, but you don't have, the other thing is, you don't have to accept anything as well, so you got a 2-step process to apply.
I think that certainly I would want to be specific about what we're authorizing.
Yeah, I would like, what's helpful now is a general indication of favorability, and maybe non-binding vote, or just pursuing some of these, to research them and pull it together and bring you back to specifics. But again, with some of these, if the timing pops up, the FEMA deadlines, that's to say, okay, we need a special meeting to get approval of these specifics.
I speaking for myself, I think, yeah, full steam ahead, but before we submit anything, there should be additional authorization.
We're, fully support you doing all the research and initial diligence. Yeah, I have no problem with it.
The specific thing though was the ATV, right?
Yes, that one you can accept. That's already been kind of broken. Yes. And again, I've spoken with Ryan about trying to make sure we've got a dialogue ahead of time to make sure that, we're doing everything that doesn't cut off an opportunity to really coordinating on that. But yeah, the ATV approval do you need 100%.
Is there any documentation that goes along with that?
Yes.
That just for, I think maybe we can still move forward here tonight, but that would be good to have on the agenda in that type of meeting.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't actually say anything about donations.
Okay, well, it's essentially the taking. I should have referenced your article that is about doing grants, monetary donations.
Yeah, I'm not saying.
No, I'm trying to match it up. Yeah.
Yeah, we just need to have stuff on the agenda, that's all. So, to recap, there was the Weyerhaeuser grant, a Poland Spring Nestle grant, and a third grant?
Well, Nestle Poland Spring have a couple of entities. One empty bottles of water and stuff for events. One is a more significant potential community grant application. That covers that summary of it. And so I'd like to put this in context when these issues came up. And Ryan said, well, why are you putting that on the agenda? I said, because we're required to do this. So that's not the way we used to do it. I said, yes, well, town manager used to do it. That is not here. This is what we're going to do. So that request for water is something they've had with us for a while. And getting bottled water. That one I would like to move as fast as possible. So yeah, I'll figure out how much we can ask for, bring that to you on the 14th or earlier, yeah, special meeting. But that one was a pretty minor one that they asked for a while to move, but I still felt the need to ask you. Scoping out warehouses for possibly larger community grant, something that I'll do, figure out if we can angle there, bring that back to you. Acceptance of the donated ATV is something I would like authorization.
So for the water, is this somebody donated water and we need to accept it? Or
Nobody has donated the water yet. Apparently somebody used to drive over and pick up cases of water over there. When I go to their website, it's a formal application process to do that. So that's why.
Yeah.
I said, no, I'm gonna get that approval for X number of cases that we can get. But this is the point that if anybody's got a problem with asking for money from Poland Spring or Nestle, this is the time. So those are the two entities that we do water and also do community grants.
Okay. Is there any objection to taking action on the ATV tonight?
Yeah, no objection.
Just because it's not specifically on the agenda, that's why I'm asking.
Right.
All right, then maybe we'll do this in real time at 8 o'clock. I'll move that we add an item to the agenda, which is to accept the donation of the ATV from Weyerhaeuser.
A second.
All in favor? Great, okay, so now it's on the agenda. All right, so now I will move that we accept.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
I can't listen as fast as you talk, I can't hear. What are you going to do for the comprehensive plan now? Is it going to be sent to the state now?
It's the version that is the final version with all the maps and everything. Bill's gonna look for that. And when we find that, it's gonna be submitted.
Fine.
Then we gotta have to recompile it if we can't find it.
But we are going to send it. But we are going to send it.
Good idea.
Good.
I would.
All right, so I will move that we accept the donation of the ATV from Weyerhaeuser. Second. Any additional discussion? All in favor? 3-0. All right, great. On the topic of these other grant applications, it sounds like we're supportive of Bill researching these.
Yes.
And that when the time comes to make a specific commitment, that we've got in a meeting where it's specifically on the agenda.
And I would be also, seems like we'd be supportive to do it in a ad hoc.
Yeah, exactly.
Great, yeah, because some of these could be significant. Yeah, it's just some of them take a whole lot of work, and I'd rather get an indication of proceeding before being told, no, I don't want to take money from that group.
Yeah. Understood.
Am I hearing the Poland Spring one is also a donation?
Well, Poland Springs / Nestle / the Blue Triton is part of their thing. They do water and community, like if you're having a community event, they'll
Right,
donate
so-
water. So that's the one I'm gonna proceed with, trying to get bottled water for the fire department.
Right.
And they do a community, potentially a larger grant program. I'm not sure if we match the criteria, but I wanna
Right,
research that
but
one.
right now you want to get that water. Is that what I'm hearing? That's the first, you said as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So do we have to,
And I'm not sure what we're talking about.
We're not, I'm not sure what we're being asked to do. Are we being asked to vote for you to submit an application for water donation?
Well, yes, yeah, because I'm required to do that. And I like to
so we have the
submit it as soon as
ATV and
possible.
the
I'm
water
not sure how much I'm gonna
donation, right?
ask for. been described as we used to drive over and pick up cases in a pickup. So,
Okay.
but again, wanting to pursue that if I can have dialogue with a corporate entity, they will donate a few bottles of water, will they also consider something more significant? Yeah.
No objection.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is to review the liquor license renewal of the quarry.
Thank you, yes. I'm not sure how we'll do this for outreach and stuff, but I think the businesses receive notification like 3 months before their license comes up, but we only seem to get asked to do it like.
Day of the last.
That's
And that's
100% of the time.
100%
Yeah.
participation in we will bring it to you the day before it's due, seems to be.
Yeah.
So everybody that we've done this for, we say, no, you get 3 months in advance. Can you give us a little lead time on this? So this is a renewal, no problems indicated. And I think it has a pretty immediate deadline. Expiration date is September 3rd.
Didn't we, as a town manager, to approve renewals?
Approve liquor license? No, you haven't, but the town attorney and I have discussed that is something you could author and you could deputize, there could be 2 of us. You can do it for renewals if there's no problem. You can't do it for new ones.
How many do we have in town? 3? Like active?
On-site liquor licenses, you've got
4.
Turning Page, Lake Shore, Spring Creek, Quarry.
Do you need one for beer? I don't recall Turning Page ever coming by. It's always just Spring Creek
No,
and
you gotta,
Quarry.
no, you gotta have a license.
It's considered liquor.
Yes, yeah, I just don't remember them.
No, I've had discussions with
But they're new.
everybody I just named.
They're
that
5 years
you
probably.
don't want to get on the liquor boards. I'm pretty sure. Really?
I don't know. I really don't know, but I do not recall doing one for them.
Anyhow.
Yes, so.
Pass it over.
Yeah.
You could authorize that those be done administratively for renewals that don't have problems.
Yeah.
If there's, the renewal has a problem, we're bringing it to you. If somebody's been cited, a new one you need to bring here, but yes, you could do this administratively. It would then,
If you.
encourage everybody to bring it in the day it's due,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
the day before. You know our people.
Really, 3 months?
Oh, and while you're doing that, as part of my update, I guess I continue talking that we had a huge wedding in town last weekend out on Matthews Road. There was a lot of concern ahead of time because the Matthews Road sign had been stolen again, as happens quite repeatedly apparently. And so we ordered a Matthews Road sign. The family, the grandfather requested, could we get a sign up? And we ordered a sign, and a couple of days before the wedding, the sign was returned. Our investigative unit recovered the sign, and as Jade described on the phone to the grandfather, the sign wasn't shot up this time. And the young couple getting the marriage license that Marty gave exceptional service to, they were here, it takes a long, so they were here for an hour and a half. And they were standing at the front counter when Jade fielded that call. Said the sign is put back up, our public works department just put it up. Got off the phone and the young woman said, that's my grandfather. The couple getting married was here, and their parents were in this week and were so complimentary of the town and the service they received. And they had the wedding catered by the quarry. They had Spring Creek catered their rehearsal dinner, which was a cruise on the time. And the parents of the bride were just praising how great the town looked, great service they got from everybody. And it was a nice series of compliments. And so we're considering whether we anybody that does a destination wedding in town, we'll give them a speed sign.
Cool.
So anywhere.
Ellisville Road, you go down and then right at the corner.
What were all the,
We went to about 250 people there.
you know, what were all the trucks going up Matthews Road a couple weeks ago? I mean, there were dozens of like, dump trucks
They were, it's
Yeah.
private road, they were.
on the road.
Yeah,
I didn't know if it was a logging operation.
So we have the. Just has the totals, converts the hours to the. Duration. Is it-
I didn't see that.
So he's buying the, I suppose he doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron, how long is that water test? Because I think you gave one to Deb. I think she's got one.
Okay.
But she said there might be some timing issues with it.
Well,
Because,
you gotta,
like, you can't do it.
you can't do it on a Friday. You gotta take it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
You do it tonight.
No, because you would have had to better the mail.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
No, I know.
Because it's got 30 hours. from the
It may
time
be
you take
different,
it
but
to the
in
time
New
you
Hampshire,
test it.
it's a
You have an old, yeah,
What?
you don't have an old one, results for the,
For 1491.
or do you think that would
what's the question?
reside with?
Other numbers.
I'd have to look at 14, probably had all that paperwork.
Is there an expiration date for those?
As far
It says
as,
check. Can I just see it?
That would have
This is
been
for the,
5 years ago, right? 4 or 5 years ago?
GTX
Yeah.
guys.
Would,
as far as the system's on expiration date?
yeah, well, the test, like, except like the funding, we're doing a VA thing, like we buy.
So which
So-
check
So they
is-
probably
there's
would
two,
want
one is
to
for motor vehicle and one is for.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So the total of this,
You're looking to do what?
What doesn't,
Drive to Newport, Clearwater,
then.
and grab
I'll
a sample,
double check
bring
that.
it back, grab the sample, take it right down.
See, I just sent out to get the state one.
Oh, no, yeah, they like, all of a sudden, like, can you do that as soon as possible? So it's like, I think they have one, but that's gonna take 2 or 3 days. I can go to Newport tomorrow.
Grab the sample bottle, get the sample, bring it back to them, and they'll,
Okay,
might not be right then, but they'll get the results to you within a day.
okay. What's it called, Clear Labs?
Water labs,
Might be a Monday.
so just a heads up, if you do that one from Northeast Labs, the prices have gone up. Cause I get old cases in from them.
Yeah.
And they had sent me an email, probably 6-7 months ago, to notify me that the cost for those tests has gone up. Cause somebody, they're $100 for the comprehensive one.
Yeah.
And they sent it in, and the lab called and said, you still owe us $4.
Wow, yeah.
We didn't do anything.
No, you have, if I could give you something to read and then we could possibly discuss more of the issue raised Tuesday at the work session that we had around where the ordinance right now allows permitted junkyards in our industrial and commercial zone. That's something that I've flagged as a potential it could happen, it suddenly shifts, what potential is for the commercial and industrial zone. We raised this at Tuesday meeting, Jonathan was here, and that raised a concern with junkyards.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward permitting process in town, and given efforts that I look to, and I think you and others have said, of really trying to address our codes issues and our blight conditions and get things cleaned up and get we have no commercial or industrial activity in our commercial and industrial. So this is a drafted moratorium to be similar to the solar that you could do pretty quickly if you chose, and having the special town meeting on September 14th. So if you met prior to that, that would count as hearing. Takes 10 days in advance notice. So it's to give to you for your consideration. I think Jonathan was probably going to raise the subject, with the planning board as well. But I would see there are no permits in currently for junkyards. This is something you can do a moratorium pretty quickly and run that jointly with the solar and the other updates you're going to do to the land use ordinance. So seeing a contradiction where it could be easier to get a junkyard permitted than to build new houses.
I think, yeah, we can certainly take this. I'd rather have discussion on the topic when it's on the agenda at a meeting.
That was more about processes. When you need to meet.
Well, that's it. Not here.
We've just been waiting for you to leave before the big business comes out.
All right, see ya, thanks. Trying to get into good habits of doing this stuff during the meeting.
Yeah. I ordered some food that I have to go and pick up. Would you mind just shutting this off at the official adjournment? Okay.
You've been working on that. You've been trying to figure out why you work. I ordered some food.
Yeah, when I got up, I went out there, I ordered some food, and then I came back.
I've been checking, make sure we don't get closing time.
And they said 10 minutes, and that was 20 minutes. So I
Yeah, just one J. Well, they could actually then keep signing warrants.
We can,
He doesn't want to do that.
are allowed to do that? I mean, we do that, but
I mean, because you can come in and sign warrants anytime. I mean,
in that case, then I'll move that we adjourn.
because then we can turn off.
All in favor?
Into it.
Thank you, thanks.
Adjourn.